Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with my colleague, Mary Gamba. We kick off the program with our mini-series called This is New Jersey. This is New Jersey is featuring a whole range of things about New Jersey that a lot of people don't know. And we're joined by Tim Crouch, who's Chief Strategy Officer at Choose New Jersey. The website will be up for Choose New Jersey. Tim, how you doing?
Very good. Yeah, great to be here.
You got it. Tell everyone what Choose New Jersey is.
So Choose New Jersey is the state's leading economic development nonprofit. So we work closely with the state government to tell New Jersey's story right the way across the world.
Tim, what part of New Jersey did you grow up in?
Closer to Old Jersey than New Jersey. Happy to be in this one for sure.
Where did you grow up?
So born and raised in Southern England. Actually, I've crossed the threshold. I've now spent the majority of my adult life in the United States. So this is home. It doesn't sound like it, but this is home now.
Awesome. Talk to us about the West Coast Initiative. There's a strong effort to tell folks on the West Coast that no, this is New Jersey, not what you may think New Jersey is. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So for a good while now, New Jersey in the economic development world, we've known that it's really important to tell our story internationally. So we've had offices in Europe. As recently as last year, we opened offices in East Asia, Tokyo, Taipei, and Seoul. We have 2 offices now in India. So we've long accepted the need to tell New Jersey's story outside of the borders of the United States. But really, actually, when we do visits domestically to key markets where key industries for our state are headquartered, it dawned on us probably about this time last year that there's more to do domestically. And I think when you think about a market of the scale of California, you know, whatever it is, it's the 4th or 5th biggest economy in the world if it was treated as a separate country. Right. The justification for having a presence there to tell that story was pretty clear. And I think for us, the reality is that we think we're lucky, I suppose. We know what New Jersey is because we live it, we breathe it, we see it every day. We see its strengths in life sciences, biotech, pharmaceuticals. We see its rising prominence in film and TV production. We see its legacy in fintech, in innovation, and so on, and a whole host of other things besides. That's not necessarily the case for those outside of the state who can't draw the distinction between kind of what New Jersey offers versus Pennsylvania versus Connecticut versus Massachusetts. So telling that story with that nuance is critical.
Yeah. So Mary, jump in because I want to talk a little bit more about film.
Oh, you know that's where I was going. That's near and dear to my heart. So yeah. Tim, my son is currently studying acting over at NYU Tisch, and I'm very excited and also excited. I live in a little town called Westfield, and there's a Netflix special being filmed here right now. Timothée Chalamet was right down the road filming one of those little biopics about Bob Dylan. And
Hold on 1 second. J-Lo is here in Montclair where I am as we're taping, just to be clear.
You're kidding me. All right, you win.
I got your attention. Now, you know, April, our makeup artist, just said, yeah, I heard.
Yeah, she's driving around trying to find her, get that autograph. It's so exciting. It is just to be here, to hear the excitement and just the business that it brings to the town, to the small businesses, the cafes, the coffee shops, et cetera. Talk about that film industry coming to New Jersey and what it means to our economy and to our community.
Yeah, for sure. And such a good way to frame it. It's exciting. We're all excited when you get these big productions coming to the state, but it matters for the businesses on the ground and the communities that the productions are going into. So to put that into perspective, and kudos to the governor and first lady for the work they've done to put the film tax credits in place and make sure that the film commission is equipped to support those productions. If you go back a couple of years pre-pandemic, I think physical production in the state was valued at something like 50 or 60 million a year. Not to be sniffed at, that's a big sum of money. That's now tenfold. And with a trajectory that could have that topping $1 billion per year by the next couple of years. So what that means in practice, of course, it's not just the actors, the directors, the cinematographers. It's the dry cleaners, the hotels, the catering companies, the transport companies, all of the kind of what we think of, I guess, as a supply chain for film and TV production, not to mention the physical infrastructure that's being built out across the state. So Netflix's landmark announcement a year or so ago that they were going to build their East Coast production hub in Fort Monmouth is huge for the state. That's, close to $1 billion in investment across 300 acres of what was Fort Monmouth, the military facility there. That's a real statement of trust by Hollywood that New Jersey has both the locations, but also the production talent and that supply chain to cope with really, really big productions. And I think maybe the other thing I'd say on that, it's interesting when we have our conversations with the major studios who, they make film and TV shows in the UK and Australia, other bits of Europe. Hungary is quite an important destination. We all know that Georgia has done well to attract a lot of production. New Jersey now plays at that level. We are generally considered in the top 3 states across the United States and top 5 globally as places to bring big film and TV.
Well, hold on. New Jersey is one second. Huge. New Jersey is top 5 globally.
Top 5 globally, yeah. Generally, our competitors. Clearly, California is its own thing, although
right.
The news in the industry is that production is leaving the state, which is pretty tough for California. Domestically, competitors would be New Jersey, Georgia.
What about New York?
To some extent.
New York is set. We don't just put New York and New Jersey together, though. Tim, do we distinguish New York from New Jersey? New York City.
Yeah.
That doesn't count on our bill, does it? Not
at all. Completely separate. So I think the feedback we get is that New York is increasingly becoming quite a difficult place to film, quite a difficult place to get permitting, but simply the traffic of moving people in and out of sets, the ability to shut down roads temporarily to be able to film scenes is getting unworkable in several parts of New York. And of course, for New Jersey, that's good news in that they're a direct competitor and we're able to really differentiate ourselves with a very film-friendly environment. So that means that we play really well against those domestic competitors and actually increasingly against UK and Australia as the 2 big international competitors.
So interesting. Tim, before I let you go, I'm curious about this. And let me also say that Choose New Jersey, we're partnering with Choose New Jersey on this This Is New Jersey initiative. Just want to disclose that. But help us on this. Give me a minute or less on AI and the work that you and your colleagues are doing and creating and developing the strategic direction of the organization.
Yeah, indeed. So really, really important for the state. Important because we see it as a huge opportunity for New Jersey.
How
We've got a history and legacy of innovation. We have the right mix of existing industries that are likely to be catalyzed. Their innovation is going to be driven by AI. You think about pharma and drug discovery. You think about fintech in that corridor of sort of Jersey City.
Financial technology, fintech.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Right. Exactly right. These are all industries that are going to be catalyzed by advanced artificial intelligence, generative AI. And for us, we've then got Princeton as the sort of crown jewel educational institution. So for us, critical, you get the right partners involved. The Princeton AI Hub that was announced about a year ago. The founding partners announced about a month ago.
We just did. 1 second. Check out our interview with Chris Palladino, who heads up the Helix, because he talked about that as well. Go ahead.
Brilliant. And the Helix, again, a kind of great asset for the state. Another strategic innovation center alongside the AI Hub at Princeton. So, 2 great examples of where you've got existing strengths of the state being turbocharged, catalyzed, and where AI will be a critical component to us.
Tim Crouch, Chief Strategy Officer at Choose New Jersey. Tim, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
Mary and Alice, we'll be right back right after this. I'll get that out. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Vicino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Jingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
Introducing the Helix NJ, the Health and Life Science Exchange, a new innovation district located at the heart of the Northeast Corridor, providing industries, universities, and entrepreneurs the critical ecosystem needed to turn great ideas into breakthrough realities. The Helix NJ, where ideas come to life.
Steve Adubato, Mary Gamba. Hey, Mary, I sat down and had an in-depth conversation with Bob Papa. If you don't know who Bob is, a great broadcaster. He's, in fact, the voice of the New York Giants. Scarlett, our camera operator, my Giants football somewhere. Can we get it? I have these ridiculous props here. He knows where it is, too.
I love that you're sending him to get that prop.
Right here. Right here.
You better catch it on live TV. There you go.
Am I going to drop it? I was a place kicker in high school and college, but if I had to, I could throw and catch the ball. Trust me.
Good job.
So here we go. So Giants football. So I talked to Bob Papa, not just about what it's like to be the voice of the Giants, but talking about media leadership, sports media leadership, and how sports media has changed dramatically. More podcasts, more athletes having their own podcast, a less traditional broadcast. People like Pat McAfee over at ESPN's got a wild show every day. Stephen A. Smith is who he is. But also has a podcast to back it up. Mary, what did you take away from that interview about the changing face of sports media?
It was fascinating to get Bob's take on the athletes having their own social media, the pitfalls, the dangers, but also the opportunities in real time. If used correctly, these athletes are getting out there ahead of it right after a game. The only challenge that you'll see Bob talks about, and I don't want to give away everything, but he talks about the challenges then that the PR and the marketing teams are facing, because if you get a frustrated athlete who happens to say something that was not appropriate, they didn't practice my 24-hour rule, then the PR team also has
What's
a little.
What's the 24-hour rule? You got to wait 24 hours?
You just got to wait 24 hours before you say or do anything when you're frustrated, and because usually it doesn't seem as bad the next day. So
hold on one second. Did you ever see the video of the University of Connecticut basketball coach, Danny Hurley?
Yes.
And by the way, check out our interview with Bob Hurley, the great Bob Hurley, the legendary, his father, Danny's father, the legendary coach, high school coach in the Hall of Fame basketball, blah, blah, blah. Danny Hurley, after they lost in the NCAA tournament, Alvin saw this, Frank saw it, some others saw it. He was leaving, going through the tunnel and saying, he was using a lot of profanity, but also saying, we just got screwed by the refs, and I hope they don't screw the next team the way they just screwed us. And he didn't even know, he wasn't in an interview, Mary. Someone just had a phone.
Exactly. And with phones today and social media, people are recording everything. So anything that you say, unless it's, and I'd love to say when you're in the bathroom or in the shower, but even then people have gotten recorded doing things. So just better off just staying off the record and be very cautious about what you say when.
Yeah, and Mary's 24-hour rule, which I've been ignoring for 25 years that we've been working together.
Yep.
Just wait 24 hours before you do something. Really? How about 24 minutes? I can barely do that. This is the interview I did with Bob Papa, the voice of the New York Football Giants. Scarlett dropped it. No, he didn't. Here it is. We're now joined by the great Bob Papa, the voice of the New York Football Giants, but also history. He's on Sirius XM NFL radio on Airing It Out. Also, in the past, boxing. I'm a boxing fan on HBO. Check him out. Golf Channel. So many things that Bob has done, and also Jersey connection, Bergen Catholic, and then to Fordham over in the Bronx. Hey, Bob, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Question. Sports media today and the obsession with podcasting and so-called new media. You like it, or is it just the way it is?
I don't mind it. I think it's kind of interesting to hear people's opinions. You have to sift through a lot of noise to find out what's real and what's not. But how's that any different than anything else that we experience via the media these days? You know, I think one of the interesting things is beat writers are no longer really beat writers. They're pseudo columnists because as the newspaper industry has contracted and as they have their own online formats, click into this link, click onto this link, here's my hot take. I think a lot of reporting has gone by the wayside because their job is also to feed that beast of instant and be first and rumors and crazy takes that will get traffic to whatever site or newspaper that they're working for. So I think there's a big credibility issue. Long gone are the days of like really good reporting. And the attention span of this generation, I don't think they can read past 4 or 5 paragraphs. Who's going to sit down and actually read an in-depth story nowadays? So it's kind of all fed into each other.
Yeah, real quick follow-up on that, Bob. When Bob Papa joined us for our tribute, Remember Them to Wellington Mara, he shared something that was really interesting. Bob was quite critical of the Giants back in 1992 after Giants played poorly. Bob was a young man right out of early on WNEW. Long story short, Bob was critical, and Wellington Mara, the owner of the Giants, said to him, "You can be critical, and our fans know best, but never be personal." Here's the question. With so many athletes going into podcasting and saying lots of personal things about other athletes, sports media on that side of it, Bob, has gotten incredibly popular, but you have stayed in that ilk of if you will, of folks who analyze and are critical, but never personal. Ever tempted to get personal, or just not who you are?
I don't believe in getting personal. I mean, athletes are doing their jobs. They're trying to perform at the best level they can for whatever their motivations are. In most cases, it's the love of what they're doing, but there's a money factor in all of it. And we can all acknowledge that. Yeah, I mean, I think the athletes are smart by having their own podcasts because
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about you go into a locker room after a game and you see the reporters around a player and that session lasts for how long? And how many times do you see it get spun in a certain direction that maybe this reporter wants to spin it in the narrative that he's looking for because he's looking to do a hatchet job on somebody or whatever the case is. At least with the athletes now sitting on a couch with a microphone in front of themselves, they can create their own narrative. They don't have to wait until tomorrow's newspaper to then meet with the press again to either clarify a statement or expound upon something. They get an opportunity to do it themselves. So I don't know, you're going, the source is now going directly to the fans. And I think in a lot of cases, that's not a bad idea. Now, when they want to start mudslinging, well, then it's like watching the old Jerry Springer show. Have at it, guys. Knock yourselves out if that's the way you want to carry yourself. But I think overall, it's not a bad thing that the athlete has a voice in the media. It is hell for sports teams' PR departments. Because the media would come into a facility or come into a locker room after a game or come to a shoot around or a morning skate, and the writers would write their early story for the early edition of the paper. And if something was said, it could be tamped down, it could be clarified, it could be whatever. And the team sort of controlled the environment. Now, can you imagine being a PR guy for a sports team? You have to watch all of your players' socials, see who's posting what in the evening on Instagram or X or whatever it is, and some guy's not happy with his playing time and he just pipes out a big post or puts a microphone in, and now you got a fire to pull out the next day.
Yeah. Listen, Bob Papa joined us, as I said, for the Wellington Mara Remember Them program, and we intruded upon his very busy schedule, and he was so good to stay with us for this extra segment. Bob, I cannot thank you enough for not just being a great broadcaster, but someone who, for all of us in media, just has continued to raise the bar for all of us. Thank you, Bob. Wish you all the best.
My pleasure, Steve.
You got to stay with us. We'll be right back. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Vicino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Jingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Introducing the Helix NJ, the Health and Life Science Exchange, a new innovation district located at the heart of the Northeast Corridor, providing industries, universities, and entrepreneurs the critical ecosystem needed to turn great ideas into breakthrough realities. The Helix NJ, where ideas come to life.
Welcome back to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with Mary Gamba. Mary, I want to do one of those mini seminars on a topic, and the graphic will come up. Mm-hmm. Grit, the book by Angela Duckworth, Grit and Leadership. Grit and Great Leadership. Ooh. All right? Good. I've got a few bullet points, Mary.
I'm ready.
Let me put them out there. First bullet point, grit. All right? Some people like, what do you mean? You know what it means. Jersey grit. Number one, limit feeling sorry for yourself. I lost. I got rejected. I didn't get the deal. I didn't get I'm feeling sorry for myself. I wonder how long I can do that, Mary.
I'm going to do the old Howard Stern, the wah.
Why?
I think, was it Artie Lang? I think Artie Lang was
yes.
who did that. And too often, I have many faults. Feeling sorry for myself is usually not one of them. I'm one to brush myself off, try to figure out, I become more solution oriented. Once you get into that negative spiral thinking of feeling sorry for yourself, you cannot go into solution mode and you cannot help to see things as glass half full.
Got it. Second bullet. How about this one? See every failure in quotes or loss in quotes as an opportunity to learn and grow. Ball's in your court. My next basketball, it's in your court.
That one is so perplexing to me. You've got so many balls, no hockey pucks there.
Don't say that. Yes, just go ahead.
It's perplexing to me because if you fail, when things go wrong, and you are going to fail, everybody is going to make a mistake. You need to
Mary, distinguish between failure versus loss and rejection.
Well, and I'm seeing that I consider it a failure if we are experiencing loss. If we lose an underwriter in our nonprofit television production company, if we lose a client. Fair. How many people are losing clients today? It's so hard to keep those clients and find new ones, but you need to see it as an opportunity to reflect and say, what can I do differently, or what should I have done differently in that situation?
Just to be clear, so when I lost my seat when I was in the state legislature as a very young man, I lost my reelection. Can I redefine that not as a loss and
Correct.
A failure? Because that's where it was.
You should redefine it as an opportunity, because look where you are today.
Yeah, and I remember crying for weeks, and my father, God rest his soul, was like, listen, how long are you going to do this?
Exactly. You needed to know me back then.
My father was like, there's work to be done. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. How about this one? I love this one. Play the long game, meaning grit is really about not the most recent at-bat, the most recent loss. It's longer term. But how the heck can you do that, Mary, when you're measured so often by your results in the next quarter or the next whatever? How can we really play the long game, or do we have to just survive for today?
Well, it's a little bit of both. You need to be in the present and take care of those things that need to be taken care of today. But if you're not doing those things, those tasks, those actions with an eye toward the future, you're not going to succeed. So you need to know where you are today, but also set your sights to, okay, this maybe didn't go the way that I wanted it to today, but where are we going in the future?
So I like how Mary framed that, but how about this one? And remember, we're talking about the keys to grit and great leadership.
Yep.
Next bullet point, establish and nurture relationships. I argue that you could be as gritty as you want, but no leader does it alone. And these relationships with team members, with clients, with stakeholders, with different people in your world, when things get really bad and you've experienced a loss, a rejection, a failure, whatever, you need other people to help you through it. And I argue that if you're not investing in those relationships, and all of a sudden, if you don't have them, and all of a sudden you lose and you're on your heels and you're falling, oh, now I need friends. Doesn't work that way.
It does not. You and I talk about it all the time. You need to reach out to those people in your orbit. You need to reach out to those partners, your friends, your stakeholders, your team all the time. So this way, when you do need something, and I'm not saying that it's all transactional, but at the end of the day, when you do need something, if you reach out then and you hadn't reached out for 3 months, 6 months or more, sure, they're probably going to help you if they're a true friend and partner, but they're not going to feel that good about it.
Yeah, one or two more. How about this one? Grit can be developed and learned. Translation. There are some people who believe this thing called grit, perseverance, never quit. Winston Churchill, I have this great quote from Winston Churchill in World War II, where I talk about all the time when Hitler is moving through Europe and it gets they're destroying England. And Churchill, who was the prime minister, said, we will never, never, never give up. But here's the thing. People think that only certain people have grit. Churchill, Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, grit, incredible tenacity and perseverance and persistence. It can be learned. It can be developed if you choose to make it part of your leadership portfolio. Minute left, Mary, you say?
Agreed. I believe that it can be learned. I have learned it myself over the years in different situations. And you may not have grit in every situation. Just because I can have grit at work doesn't mean that if a family situation comes up that it just automatically translates. No. You need to use the tips, the tools, the resilience to transfer those same gritty, if you will, experiences to other experiences as well.
Just to be clear as we finish up, there are so many things when something bad happens. I'm a hypochondriac, as Mary knows. So I've been clinically designated. No, but I am. So if I get a pain, or I always think the worst case scenario, grittiness is not always your first reaction. It's not me. All of us have to get past that initial, oh my God, and then say, okay, what are my options? What's the best strategy to move forward? Because that's all there is. Otherwise, it's giving up. And the last thing is this: never, never, never give up. And also, that was said by the great Jim Valvano, the late great Jim Valvano, in his ESPY speech in 1994, I think. On behalf of Mary and myself, this is Lessons in Leadership. It's a pretty gritty show. See you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Vicino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Jingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
Introducing the Helix NJ, the Health and Life Science Exchange, a new innovation district located at the heart of the Northeast Corridor, providing industries, universities, and entrepreneurs the critical ecosystem needed to turn great ideas into breakthrough realities. The Helix NJ, where ideas come to life.